welcome to this session. And in the next 20 minutes, we will explore the topic unlocking the potential of the pure API at the University of Vienna. And we will have a brief overlook over our institutional setup. Then I will explain our journey with the first use case and the lessons we learned. And then I will go on with the next use case and the best practices. But first of all, I want to clarify one thing. I'm not talking as a technician, because yesterday it was a challenge. The API workshop was also a challenge for me, and I'm a pure administrator. And I want to show that the API does not have to be a mysterious, and it is not only a technical tool that complicates everything, it also can help to reduce the manual work. So our institutional setup until October 25, so until last month, we hosted Pure locally at the University of Vienna, and it was centered around the data warehouse that we have, and all the information went there, and the systems communicate directly, so we didn't need to use an API or a white API at that moment. But things changed this year, and we had to update the funding structure, the funding program structure, because there were a lot of changes in the last years. So it really needed a clear structure for the application and awards. And our challenge was 20,000 records had to be changed. And to complicate the things, the funding program structure, the funding programs only can be deleted if every link is deleted before. So it would have been a lot of work to do it manually, and it would have taken a lot of time. And we wanted to make a bulk import, but when we asked Elsevier support to say that's not possible, but they recommended us to use the API, so that's when our journey started. And we also started the communication with our IT department, because we cannot make it by our own. We don't have the knowledge to do that. And we decided together that we would use Python as a programming language, because there only will be just one change, and no other system will interfere with this data. So that's why we choose Python. And we also had to ensure the data validation so that we don't lose any data through this process. And we wanted to automate the process so we don't need to do a lot of work manually. That were our goals. And on this slide, you see the classification schema at Pure. On the right side, you see the old funding program structure, and on the left side, the new one. And if you see the Horizon mission, I think it's too small, but anyway, it's on the first level, on the old structure, and it would get implemented in the European Commission, so it will get on the level 2 on the new funding program. So it changed a little bit. There are not that big changes, but for us it was difficult. And we had to define a structure before, so we did it with Excel. We defined which funding programs we need. Then we decided which hierarchy they had to have. And as we use English and German as languages in the Pure system, we also had to define these two languages. Then the next step was the mapping. So you see on the left side the old structure, and on the middle the new one. And on the right side you see the new UI. That's the link that you use at Pure system. So this was our task, and now this task was for the IT department. You see that this workflow is for the Python script. I forgot to mention that we didn't have only one funding program structure, but we had one. So the Python script had to search how many matches there were. Then they had to decide if they should be replaced, or if they have to look if the award was from 2016, because we didn't want to have this information anymore. And then it looks if there was a mapping. If there was no mapping, then that part we will do manually afterwards. And if there were mapping, this information was going through the API to the Pure system. It didn't work at the first time, so we had to make it a lot of times until it matched. So the lessons we learned was that the collaboration is really important, so that both parts knew what they want to have as a result. And you need patience, and because it takes a long time of testing, changing, and communication. And you also have to validate the data if you have everything that you want. And so it really takes time, but at the end, it can reduce the manual work for a long time. So, and as this first use case was successful, we want to continue. And the next step is to connect the library management system to Pure. And we want to get the bibliographic data for books inside the Pure system, because we have only some mandatory fields, but we want to have the complete information of the books. So the benefit that we have is that the Pure administrator team is located in the university library. So we have that background knowledge. And we hope that this will help us to map the two metadata formats so that it will get a little bit easier. And we have a lot of focus areas. And we will have to find out how we will go through it so that we can manage it. So, and again, together with the IT department, we will set up a good communication and a collaboration, because we have to do it. And we need also the data mapping and standardization. And this time we will need microservices for data flow. Microservices are small software applications, because the data from the Pure system is not going directly to the other systems. They will be collected there, adapted, so that they can communicate with the data from the Alma system. That's a part for the IT developers. So, and as we want to make it automatically, we also have to define the error handling, because otherwise the data quality will not be good anymore. And we have to, we think that we will get a lot of information, so that we will have to look for the load limits, and so that the performance is good all the time. And before I end, I want to give you some best practices and final takeaways. Some of them sounds really easy, but are useful. It's good to start small, to prototype first, and then to get bigger. And you have to document everything, API mapping, the workflows, even the errors, because you have to solve them, and maybe this work will help you later on another error handling. Then you have to monitor the jobs regularly, because a small error can develop larger and larger if you don't solve it really quickly. Then we suggest that you combine the automation with human oversight, so that you are always looking over the data that you import and you export to maintain the data quality. And what I mentioned a lot of times is to keep the communication channels between the IT department and the pure admin team. The IT department said that it's always good to use the version control and to design it for reusability, because also the first use case we could use for another use case, and it was really simple to adapt it. And to monitor system loads and plan wait limits so that the system is going smooth. Well, that's it. I hope these tips can help you for your API project.